it's 2025, and if you still pay agents for UK study visa, I dey shame for you, especially if you're a graduate. Like most times you want to do postgraduate, like masters, you have done your undergraduate and you are a graduate and you are paying agents to do UK study visa. Hey, I say I dey shame for you, I no go lie. You guys, I've heard stories about Canada process being complex and Australia process being complex. In other words, you need an agent for these applications. I've not applied to those countries, so I wouldn't know how true that is. But for UK study visa, everything is in plain English. It's like the simplest japa route. This is the simplest thing ever. So you paying an agent, I feel like, oh my god, that money should be used for something more meaningful. I mean, UK study visa is already expensive, so why are you spending more when you shouldn't? Okay, so this video is just to close those loopholes. If you're looking to save your money and then to apply everything by yourself from start to finish, then you should listen to the end. I get it that a lot of agents want to bamboozle you, try to make it look complex so that you feel like, yes, I need an agent. But the truth is, you can get your UK student visa, apply everything from beginning to the end by yourself. You don't need an intermediary. So if this is something you are interested in, then you want to listen to this video to the end, because I'll be sharing based on my experience. So not somebody said, somebody then say, I applied, I did everything myself. So you can as well do that yourself if you have ears and you listen to instructions. So if you're looking to come to the UK, maybe in September 2025 or January 2026, anytime at all. So the first step to getting a UK study visa or student visa, whichever one you want to call it, is to choose a course. Now, choosing a course is very important because you are spending millions coming here. You don't have to just choose any course because you want to Japan. No, you have to choose a course that is relevant and something you are passionate about. Mind you, I said two things: relevant to the UK economy, relevant to the world economy. In other words, after schooling, you can easily get a job or find yourself somewhere, something related to your field. Just really practice what you studied, okay? And then another thing is passion. You have to be passionate about what you're studying. I mean, if you are spending millions coming here, you don't just pick anything, okay? It's something that you have always dreamt of doing, or you probably are still doing, and you want to just like master it, okay? So you choose your course wisely. So the good thing about the UK is that it's so easy to switch from science to art. I don't know how they do it, but you guys, I have a classmate that studied English who is currently doing nursing right now. Like, with your degree in English, you can do a master's in nursing. Like I said, I don't know how that works, and I think it depends on the school, individual differences. But with the UK, it's easy to just switch from. In fact, you can do an art course, a science course in your first degree and switch to art. It's just so easy. It's not like in Nigeria where they ask you to go and do a PGD. Here it is rare. I don't know how they do it. Like I said, you have to send messages to the school for them to clarify if that switch is possible. So the first thing to do is to choose your course. Choose wisely, because they know they tell person. Choose a course that is relevant and something you are passionate about. Second thing to do after choosing a course is to choose your school. Mind you, most schools can do the same course, but they reward it, like they rephrase it. So it may be, for instance, my school now, public relations and strategic communication. Another school does the same course as public relations and marketing. Another school does public relations and advertising. So you see the same course with different variants or different affixes, additions and subtractions. So you choose your school. Now, there are many factors to consider before choosing a school, but mind you, standards in UK generally are the same. So it's not like in Nigeria where some schools have more standards, higher standards than the other. In the UK, or I can say categorically that all the schools have the same standards. The only difference is that some schools have more reputation than the other. For instance, a school that started in 1800, they usually rank it as seemingly better than one that started in 2000 or 1955 or 1980s. You get their reputation. Some schools are popular for a particular course, and but generally standards are the same. You get good classrooms, access to library, facilities, everything is the same. So if not standard, don't worry yourself. Another thing to consider before choosing a school is school fees. You guys, nobody is going to pick a £20,000 school over a £13,000 school. Of course, maybe because you're attracted to their reputation and you have enough money to spare, because it's still the same course and the same learning things you would learn, you get. So another thing to consider is the school fees. Check out the school fees for the particular course. If it's something you can do, you're like, okay. But school fees is not the only thing to consider, okay? Payment plan. Let me say it again. Payment plan. Now, let me say something here. Don't fall for the trap of, a lot of schools will tell you can pay 20% deposit don't fall for that trap. While it is possible, how do you think you pay 20% deposit and then the 80%? What would happen to the 80% when you come to the UK? Okay, so mind you, you might come to the UK and in 2 or 3 months you've not landed a job yet. So what would you be doing? How would you raise the remaining 80% from your 20 hours of work? And then you have to pay rent, you have to feed, you have to use transport. That may not be possible. So as much as that sounds like a juicy offer, you need to be careful because it is a trap. Another thing to consider is the cost of living in the city. So it's one thing to attend a school that is cheap, affordable, but then renting a house in that city is a lot. Okay, so imagine you are paying 12,000 pounds, but renting a small shared apartment or whatever costs from like 600 pounds a month, or maybe 500, thereabout pounds in a month. Okay, but then there's another city that charges you like, say, maybe 14k pounds or 15k, and then you can get cheaper houses for like 300 pounds, maybe in some cases 200 and something pounds a month you get. So the cost of living is also a factor, because if you live in an expensive city, that money you did not spend on school fees, you spend it on cost of living, and then if you check it you probably might be losing. Another thing is the job availability. You guys, we don't generally, every city has unique challenges, but job availability is a very important factor. So some cities, mind you, when a city is more populated, there are more job opportunities. For instance, if a city has, let's say, 300,000 people, you can expect more restaurants to cater to those 300,000 people. For instance, McDonald's may have, let's say, 50 restaurants in those populated places, but in another place that is not populated, of course you can't expect them to have the same number of outlets in those cities. So what I'm saying is that the more populated the city is, the more opportunities, but at the same time the more competition for these opportunities. While there are a lot of jobs, there are also a lot of people to take these jobs, and then with smaller cities you have smaller opportunities and maybe less people, so you just choose your evil last. So the competition is higher there. You can apply, throw your net out, and then you'll be lucky. So now, after considering all of these factors, the cost of living, the fees, the payment plan, job availability, and then you have decided, okay, this is the school I want, then congratulations to you, first step has gone. What is the next thing you will do? The next thing is to apply to this school. Now, I hear a lot of people say, I applied to 2 or 3 schools. I feel like it's not necessary. I mean, if you have all your documents correct, you've checked the requirements for the course, and you meet up to it meets up to that. Maybe you have 2-1 or 2-2. Some schools do not accept 2-2, some do not accept HND. You check you have a good degree, you've ticked all the qualification boxes. There is no point applying to 2 or 3 schools except you have doubt. Like I said, if you've done the first analysis, the fees, the choice of school, the course and everything, you are certain this is what I want to study, this is the school I want to go to, go ahead and apply to those schools. There's no need to do 2 or 3 to one. You're just wasting your time, to be honest. But at the same time, you can apply to 2 or 3 schools. Maybe you still have doubts as to the particular one you should go. Maybe when you get admission in those 3 schools, you can now properly decide. But anyways, when you apply, it's quite straightforward. Of course, the website shows you this is where to apply, how to apply, the documents. Definitely, they'll ask for your transcript, they'll ask for your WAEC, your passport, just basically documents you should have for someone who wants to apply for a master's degree, you get. So when they ask for that, you submit that, you get the admission. Admission usually comes, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks, 1 to 2 weeks, depending on how fast the school is. Now that you have gotten the admission, it's now time to move to the next step. Now, after the admission phase, like you have been given admission, they now ask you to pay your school fees deposit. Now, your school fees deposit is, most schools say 50% of the actual amount. That is why I refer to the other schools that say 20% of your actual amount. So now, at this point is really very tricky. You can pay 50% depending on what your school says. But by the way, it is advisable to pay a higher deposit if you can afford it, because life in the UK is uncertain, especially as a newcomer. And then if you're not coming to fall back on a family member or a job that is already waiting for you, which is rare, okay? If you're not coming to fall back on something, it is advisable to pay more than half, because the time frame or the payment plan may not even avail you more opportunities to clear your debt, except if you are lucky or you land the job immediately, or you find your way around it. So you pay your school fees deposit. After paying your school fees deposit, the school gives you a CAS. CAS is confirmation of acceptance of studies. I hope I got that right. CAS, confirmation of acceptance of studies, just call it CAS. So the school gives you a CAS. That CAS shows the course you're studying, the amount you have paid, the duration of the course, basically the details of that course. And so it's this document along with other documents you will now use to apply for your visa. So we are at the visa application phase right now. But before then, some schools requires proof of funds before they issue cards. Now, they want to be sure that you are actually prepared for this course and that you don't get a refusal at the embassy you get. So that means that before applying for cards, your proof of funds has to be in your account for at least 28 days. That is the only way they give cards. For instance, my school requires a proof of fund before giving cards. Some schools may not require it. So if your school doesn't require it, you are lucky, especially if you are doing the other proof of funds kind of thing. Okay, so 28 days proof of funds, and then they give you your card. So now, what is proof of funds? Already I feel like everybody knows what proof of funds is, but let me just throw a little bit of light on what that is. So proof of funds is a blend of two things: your living cost and the remaining part of your school fees. Now, if you paid 50% deposit, it means that your proof of fund, you should have the remaining 50% deposit in your account. If you pay 30% deposit, you should have like 70% in your account, you get, and then including your living cost for 9 months. Now, the UK, before it used to be lower, now they've increased it to £1,136 monthly for people who are outside London. And then if you're in London, it's 1,483 because pounds monthly. You should have it for 9 months. So multiply what I called now, the figures I called now, by 9 months. Multiply that, yeah, and then keep at your answer. I'm very terrible with maths, so disregard my analysis. Multiply this amount I called by 9 months. Keep the amount one side. Then 70% or 50%, depending on what you paid for deposit, keep the amount one side. Then you add the two. When you add the two, that combines becomes your proof of funds. Now, the cost of living in London is, of course, higher. If you are going to London, hey, I say President General among the nation. President General among, like, I hail you. The cost of living in London is, of course, more expensive. That's why the proof of funds for London is higher. So when you multiply and do all the addition, that makes your proof of funds. You guys, be careful at this point, because even a £1 deficit can lead to a denial. A £2 deficit can lead to a denial. Make sure you do your calculations and then leave small thing on top. Mind you, let me even tell you another gist. For instance, if pounds is 2,200 as of today, like this now, and this is today, you want to start counting your proof of funds, make sure that you add something, because you know the way Naira is going. It can be 2,200 today, and in 28 days that you're anticipating to apply for your visa, it has moved from 22 to 25. And guess what? UKVI will send you, say inflation, the money has risen, has arisen. They calculate that proof of funds from the day of your visa application. For instance, if on the day you're applying for visa, pounds that was 2,200 when you started your proof of fund has now moved to 2,500. It is that day of application, 2,500. That's the day they start checking. So they use Oanda. I think I'll include the link to that Oanda maybe on this thing for you to check. Use Oanda to calculate the pounds rate for that day. Like I said, hear me well. The amount they use to calculate your proof of funds to convert to Naira is the rate on that day of your visa application, not on the day you started putting proof of funds. That is why I said pad your money. If you calculate, for instance, today is what's today's date? 7th of May, whatever today's date is, and then pounds rate is 2,200 to a Naira. As you are putting your money, maybe after you've calculated, aggregated, your money came out like 40M. Okay, try and pad it to like 45, because the way the Naira is climbing, it can move any day. Okay, so like I said, they check it from the day of your visa application. So before you even start your visa application, ensure that you go to Oanda and check the pounds to Naira rate at that day, that particular day. When you check it, multiply it and check, confirm from what you have in your account that it corresponds. So it's a match. The money in your account is not short. Like I said, even a £1 deficit or a £2 deficit can lead to a denial. These guys no send you. They need, if you're applying for your visa, they need everything to be perfect. There's no room for story, shoot bird, mama fly, inflation, Naira is falling, Naira is crashing. They don't send you. You get. So make sure you do your calculations well. Don't be carried away by the fact that, oh, the naira is dropping, and then my proof of fund came out 30M and I'm putting that exact 30M, you'll be disappointed. Again, check. Don't be in a hurry. Go to Oanda and check and confirm that the rate for that day actually your proof of funds can carry. Okay, if you have more questions, definitely ask me, I will answer. And your proof of funds should be in your account for at least 28 days. I know I've said that before, at least 28 days. So immediately it clocks 28 days, you can start your application. Okay, you can start your application immediately. It clocks 28 days, but make sure it is up to 28 days. To be on the safer side, at least 29 days. By the way, I have a proof of fund I'll say flog. I have a proof of funds plug, just in case if you want his service, you can send me an email and I'll give you his phone number. I did tell him that if I get a good service from him, I would recommend him to others. You get, so immediately you pay your the money enters, you know, it's fast, he's fast, he's reliable, he's efficient, he's always online to answer your questions, your queries, and everything. Anyways, I don't want this video to be too long. It's already getting too long. In the next video, I'll do a part 2 of this video, and in that part 2, I'll show you step by step on how to apply for your visa. So basically, where did we stop now? We stopped at the application process. So I've not said anything about the application process, but I've talked you through choosing your course, choosing your school, getting your cars, and everything in between. So now the next thing you're about to see in this series is applying for the visa. Gong. Like I said, all these things that I said, did you hear me say anybody? Okay, by the way, let me talk about the help you can get within this process. So usually when you choose a school, every school has a rep. Okay, so this rep now serves as agent. They're not agents, but they're just people you go to if you have questions about school application. They already know things about the visa application. So if you have questions, maybe you are stuck somewhere, you can always ask them, and of course it is free. Of course, your school, it pays them. That's their job, really. Okay, so that service is free, inquiry, whatever, is free, but you do the majority of the job yourself. Anyways, like I said, I don't this video is already getting too long. I don't want this video to get too long, so in the next video I'll tell you the visa. And I still have the form. I still have my visa form on my laptop. Okay, so I'll just go through the process of things to fill, things not to fill, and all of that. Anyways, if this is your first time coming across my channel, you should subscribe so that you understand what I'm saying. Only those that are subscribed will understand. Those that don't, I'll say Robbie. Those that refuse to subscribe will not understand. Yes, only those that subscribe will understand. Okay, so I'll see you in the next one. To those. Bye.